As the release of OneD&D nears, more and more is being seen of it. Not only mild improvements to the class design, at least insofar as new D&D design can be any good, but also new art for the revised edition. OneD&D. The name smacks of some Soviet centralization program, and the art is equally soulless. Not only that, it is now becoming offensive, becoming the very sort of real-world racial caricature that the social justice shills so desperately wished to cleanse from the game when they claimed that orcs represented black people, and thus races could not be inherently evil anymore in a fantasy world where anything is possible. Anything is possible, such as flapping your arms and flying because you rolled a heckin' epic natural 20, but any creature being evil by nature is impossible because it's so problematic in current year. Anyone who genuinely believes this should drink bleach, but the folks at Wizards of the Coast are spared because they clearly do not. They pretend to want to sanitize these races, but instead they resort to making the orcs in the OneD&D art look like stereotypical caricatures of Mexicans, and it is fucking hilarious. It is hilarious that these imbeciles cannot escape the paradigm of critical race theory or whatever the fuck they call their oppression-based worldview in which everything is seen through the lens of privilege. Orcs are no longer to be killed, they are just poor, fun-loving, undocumented immigrants with food trucks in the local square of Waterdeep or Ravnica. Like how hobgoblins went from disciplined, warlike conquerors to being forest hippies and homosexuals with bright red noses. Every race has been neutered, every monster turned into a fucking puppet with nothing inside but the hand of the dungeon master using it as a quirky NPC. A mind flayer could just as easily be a friendly tavern keeper because all that matters is referencing to popular intellectual property icons. Mind flayers and beholders aren't evil, no one is evil, and this means you should allow mass immigration into your country in real life. It sounds like a leap of logic, but that is what is being pushed here. It is meant to dumb down your survival instinct. It is meant to replace your urge to fight the strange threats lurking beyond, with a sort of sentimental pity for cute and cozy things. Sure, a mind flayer bartender could be a funny thing. A good aligned beholder could be a unique aspect of a campaign world. But that is clearly not what is going on here. OneD&D really is meant to make us all one. It is meant to be a melting pot. The race rules have been turned into some kind of grab-and-go buffet where you simply pick what features you want and make post hoc justifications for your choices, turning the races or ancestries or whatever the fuck they call them into nothing but stat bloat. Just a general fat that could be trimmed, but it doesn't really matter, because no one who plays 5th edition D&D or OneD&D cares at all about elegance or game design in general. But it's the subtle psychological effect of turning the race into ancestry, into a mix-and-match cluster of features that creates the impression that your race really does not matter. This is, of course, an egalitarian message, but not one that has ever been part of D&D. The monsters ape real-world cultures, and thus they cannot be evil. Everything must be like the real world. The orcs must be like pot-bellied, jovial Hispanics. The hobgoblins must be gay, and you must have a coffee shop and food truck convention in every major city. D&D is not an escape from the real world, it is the real world, with fantastical races added. This isn't some urban arcana setting either. This has not even a tenth of the imagination behind that. Everything here is meant to turn your game in the kind of homosexual, rootless, false utopia envisioned by the coastal sodomites who work at Wizards of the Coast. This is what Ravnica from Magic the Gathering was turned into. This is what their other ecumenopolis, setting for Magic, the mega-city of New Capenna, was designed to be. A literal rip-off of the real world. And that is what they want for Dungeons and Dragons. They want to not only deny that any race can be inherently evil, and throw away any of the actual moral depth that is introduced by such a phenomenon. They want to also compare them to real races, the way that they accuse you of doing, so that they can levy the social shaming against real-life racism, against fantasy racism as well. It is classic doublethink. They cry out in pain as they strike you. The game is getting worse and worse, and if you pay for OneD&D in any way, shape or form, if you give any money just to be preached at by these soulless AI-aided illustrations and low-effort tweaks to class design, then you are truly beyond saving. Sadly, many will follow along, because many never knew anything different. Many have only known the D&D of the Critical Role era. It is sad, but this is the march of progress. And even after a decade of this bullshit, it is only getting started.